for those listening, there might be budding entrepreneurs. There might be people that are curious, right? Okay, how have you got to the stage that there are Days sat in front of us in the podcast in the studio in Edinburgh, and you needed to raise some money, which is obviously a very common thing to do with a startup, but is not something that is necessarily as easy to understand as people might think. So talk us through how you took it from idea to reality.
Yeah. So I think first thing to say is when we had like the idea. So the moment Dunks and I like quit our jobs was 4 years ago, basically to the day now. So we're like end of January. So yeah, 4 years ago to the day. So Dunks and I quit our jobs and had this like big idea about creating like a beer business for that modern consumer. We had a pretty good idea about where we were going to brew the beers. We always wanted to brew them here at home in Scotland, like building on like a rich heritage of brewing in this country using great ingredients. So we'd found the brewery that we wanted to work on, and we'd put together this like really clever like strategy deck and thought we were pretty smart guys to be out on this journey. February hits, February 2020, like no prize for like guessing what's coming next. Like the country, the world goes into lockdown. And Dunks and I had this moment. Dunks literally handed in his notice, and like as he walked out, like of his old company, like Boris put London and the country into lockdown. And Dunks and I had this moment where we were like, crap, like not only do all of our pals think we're mad for starting a non-alcoholic beer business, this is like 4 years ago where people were still like non-alcoholic beer, like I don't drink that. So not only were our pals saying we were mad, but we were like, we literally will not be able to sell our beer because pubs and bars are closed right now. But at that time, we also were like, we spent enough time chatting to consumers and thinking about like the opportunity that we really, really believed in this. And we were like, this is the kind of thing when you're building a startup, like there's going to be a million things that are put in front of you to like basically tell you to stop. Like running a startup is actually a really stupid idea when you think about it. Like think about all the things that could go wrong.
You're choosing friction.
Yeah. You're like, there's a million reasons my business won't work. Millions of reasons my business won't work. But we saw that and we were like, okay, here's like a really easy one. We could stop and be like, you know what, we thought about doing a non-alcoholic beer business, but lockdown happened and we didn't want to do it, and we go back to our jobs. But we were like, now we really believe in this and we get one shot, right? So you might as well make the most of it. So we were living in London at the time, got on the last EasyJet flight out of London up to Edinburgh. There's a photo which I'll send to you. It's just me and Duncan on the plane. There's like
I think I've seen that actually.
Yeah, it's it does the rounds on LinkedIn. There's like 2 other guys on the plane, and I always wonder like what they're up to these days. But Dunks and I like got on the flight and turned up at our brewer and we're like, we're here. We know you've lost like a lot of demand overnight from like the on-trade pubs and bars being closed, but we really believe in this opportunity. So for that 6-month period, all we did was just like furiously like brew beer, different like taste, different ingredients, different processes to arrive at like our final products. And what that meant, to answer your question, was by like July, August 2020, we'd spent 6 months like thinking about the brand and the vision, what we wanted to create, but we'd also just focused so hard on the product. And like that's fundamentally the most important thing here. Like you can have a great brand, you can have like smart like route to market strategy, whatever it is. If your product sucks, like nobody's going to buy it in the first place. So we were really lucky that we got to focus on the product for so long, which meant that we went out and tried to start raising money by speaking to like potential investors who included like family, friends, people in our network that we'd known from like working in consumer for a while. We could say like, yes, we've done the work and we've got this like vision that we want and this brand that we want to create, but we've got these like amazing tasting beers that 0.0%, which is really important. So totally alcohol free. And I always think if we hadn't had that 6-month process where we couldn't really do anything apart from brew beer, we never would have got to where we are today, because we would have gone to try to raise money with a substandard product. And product, particularly in this category, and like consumer, like has to taste good first and foremost.